And joining us on our show today is another congressional California member of Congress. Golden State Democrat Jerry McNerney joins us. He's a member of the Energy and Commerce Committee. And Congressman, the House passed another Keystone pipeline bill. This is the second of the year. It passed by a vote of 270 to 152. 29 of your fellow Democratic members voted in favor of this specific measure. What happens to this measure from here? There's some expectation of a veto from the president. Is that a veto fight that the president can win?
Well, the president certainly has issued a veto threat, and I think he'll follow through with that. I'm not sure if it'll sustain in the House and the Senate, but I'm sure that he's going to veto it.
Some of the Democrats who joined Republicans on this bill have called this a jobs bill, said one of the reasons that they are supporting this measure is because of the job creation. Where do you stand on what the Keystone XL pipeline can do for jobs in this country?
Well, it's not an easy call. It certainly has the potential to create jobs in this country. In my opinion, though, the Keystone pipeline is not really necessary. We're already the biggest oil producer in the world. Oil prices are falling. If the Keystone pipeline gets built, I'm not sure it's going to be used. It'll be too expensive.
And the bill that the House voted on yesterday was a Senate version of a Keystone approval bill, one that they debated, one that there were many amendments to. Were there amendments in that process that you supported, and amendments that you hoped could be in another piece of legislation down the road?
Well, you're right. There were amendments such as acknowledging that climate change is taking place. I think that's very important for the Senate to actually stand up and say that and actually pass with the sufficient votes. But those were non-binding amendments. They didn't have any effect on the outcome of the bill itself. So even though they have a good message on some of them, they don't really do much. On the other hand, if we can get that sort of thinking into future legislation, I think that would be very beneficial.
So let's talk future energy legislation. One of those amendments was on energy efficiency, an area that you're obviously outspoken on.
Energy efficiency is very important because you get the biggest bang for your buck with investment in energy efficiency. You can reduce your energy costs tremendously and reduce our consumption of fossil fuels, which contribute to climate change. So I think if we incorporate energy efficiency thinking into our energy policies in the future, we'll be better off. We'll be in a better place.
We're talking with Congressman Jerry McNerney, Democrat from California. He's joining us for about the next 45 minutes or so on the Washington Journal. If you have questions or comments, Republicans can call it 202-748-8001. Democrats 202-748-8000. Independents 202-748-8003. First, calling in from Dubuque, Iowa, line for Democrats. Kevin, good morning.
Good morning. Good morning. First thing I want to say is your Congressman first that you had on there, that he was, I couldn't believe he said he was right about Obama's thing, you know, at the prayer thing about the Christians. But getting to my point about the Keystone Pipeline is how could any congressman want to pass the Keystone Pipeline when there's farmers in Nebraska that are against it going through their property? So you're actually giving a foreign company the right to go through American citizens' property, and I thought all the congressmen and stuff are for Americans' rights. So I don't understand how come you're giving a foreign company the rights to go through a citizen's property.
Well, thank you for that question, Kevin. Yes, I tend to agree. A lot of folks in Nebraska are very concerned about the effects of putting those big pipelines through their farmlands, through their region. The pipelines have failed. There's been big spills in the past. But also it's just the right to refuse a company putting big equipment on their land. And I voted against the bill because I think it's an environmentally detrimental. I don't think it's needed. But the thing that's left out often is what you've just raised, is the folks in Nebraska should have a right to say no to this.
And gas prices very low right now. If gas prices go back up, is there more pressure on this administration, on Congress, to pass the Keystone XL pipeline?
Well, certainly. The the supply and demand law is going to have a large impact on the way people think. If gas prices are low, people are going to be more interested in conservation, in ways to save money. When gas prices go up, then there's going to be actual pressure to do that. So right now, the gas prices are low, and they seem like they're going to continue to drop. And I think that's an important factor in how we think about the pipelines. I think in terms of gas supply, America is going to continue to be a big supplier.
And what's your reading of the process that the President, the State Department, the executive administrations are going through in the approval of the Keystone pipeline?
Well, they're looking at all the aspects. They want to make sure that the pipeline doesn't hurt the American economy. They want to make sure that the pipeline is not an environmental problem, both in terms of spills that could happen, in terms of the effects of global warming and climate change, which could be aggravated by the dirty form of oil that's coming out of Canada.
Let's go to Jesse waiting, Hyattsville, Maryland. Line for Independence. Jesse, good morning.
Good morning. A couple of quick points leading up to the question. With fossil fuels and global warming, that relationship, with nuclear power being the one sustainable, clean energy source, and for the sake of getting the United States energy independent completely and out of skirmishes around the world related to oil, and the federal government's promise to the nuclear industry decades ago that they would provide the repository for the waste. Why not put some resources behind more nuclear research?
Well, thank you, Jesse, and I agree with you. I think nuclear power is something that we need to have in our back pocket. Right now, one of the problems with nuclear power is that people are so distrustful of it and so afraid of nuclear accidents. So we need to make sure that the technology is sound, that it's safe, that it's fail-safe, and we need to be very transparent to the American people about what we know, about the potential for accidents, about what would happen if there was an accident. If people aren't comfortable with nuclear power, it's not going to happen, but I think it's in our national interest to make sure that we have nuclear power available and we develop nuclear power at a level that would be supported by the American public.
You have a background in wind power. If you can talk a little bit about that, and at what point, if ever, renewable energy production can replace some of these other energy needs that we're talking about here? Well,
thank you. Yes, I'm very passionate about renewable energy. I spent 20 years or so developing wind turbine, wind energy technology. It was a great way to spend a career, and I've seen the technology start from a very primitive technology, and year by year improve and become more reliable, more cost-effective. And now wind power is very reliable. It's very effective. It's cost-effective. Solar energy is coming down. We're seeing more and more solar energy installed in California and around the country and now around the world. In California, we have mandates as to how much power from the power companies comes from renewable energy, and we're seeing that we're able to meet those goals year by year. So I think it's just a matter of making the determination to do it and letting our technology, letting our entrepreneurs develop the technology using innovation. It's a great thing to see happen, and I think we have a great future. Now, I think we can gradually displace more and more of the other forms of energy with real renewable, such as wind, solar,